All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is Bart Kotter. I'll be doing the expert in the house presentation tonight. I'd like to uh, thank you for taking your valuable time to come learn about something that we're very excited about. And just to kind of get this kicking off, I'd like to just start off by saying that there's maybe 6 different reasons why we find people take a look at or get involved with the SIA. The first reason might be because of a health challenge, a health issue. Maybe you're looking for some solutions to some problems that you might have. Second thing, you might know somebody who you care about, someone that you love that's hurting. Maybe you're looking into some challenges for them. In fact, I got a question for you. If you knew someone who's hurting, someone that you really care about, someone that you genuinely love, if they had something that you thought could really help them, would you tell them about it? I hope the answer for all of us is, of course I would. The other thing, because of the anti-aging benefits of this product, we're going to show you some before and after results. Pretty amazing things. You know anybody who'd like to look and feel younger? In fact, you know anybody who'd like to look 23% younger in, let's say, 28 days? We're going to show you some before and after results that show pretty amazing effects. Also, what about athletes? If you're an athlete, what would you do to have a competitive edge? Do you know some athletes? Of course, it's interesting. A good friend of ours missed out by going to the Olympics by 4/100ths of a second. So just to have a little bit of a competitive edge to get you over the top or to win the race, we're going to show you some results with athletes as well. And I've got this circled because the 5th one was for my wife and I was a pretty big deal. This was a proactive approach to health. I remember a doctor years ago, he said, "May you never know what you're preventing." And how true and how profound that is. We know people whose life was turned upside down overnight because they had, let's say a stroke, a heart attack, an aneurysm. I mean, so many different things where their body just crashed and they didn't have the quality of life that they had before. So certainly a proactive approach is very, very important. If you're the kind of person that looks after your health, this is a big one. And the next one, do you have money and room in your bank account for more? Because if you do, this is something you want to pay very close attention to. To be perfectly upfront with you, again, this is something that my wife and I were looking for. We were looking for a business model, an opportunity where we could really create something significant for our family. And we love the idea of working from home. And because this technology is so profound, there is an amazing opportunity there as well. So, maybe you might want to pick what's your first reason, what's your second reason. The fact is they're all important. But I want to just share a little story. When we first got involved with this, I'd been involved with another company for about 19 years. That company was going through some real challenges. You might say they kind of lost their way. And it put between that and some other personal challenges, some legal issues that we were dealing with, our life was pretty much upside down. Career was struggling, our finances were struggling, personal growth. It was kind of hard to focus on anything when your life isn't going the way that you want it to, really. You've got ups and downs. And, as I'm going through this, I guess what I want you to do also is to kind of measure in your own life on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you at? Your career, your finances, your personal growth. If we're not growing, we're dying. What about your health? Maybe it's good, but there's always room for improvement. Maybe you're struggling. Family life has some challenges. Fortunately, I've got the angel of my life. Melissa has been incredible. Our relationship was good, and thank God for her to help get through some of those challenges. But when life is tough, it's hard to even want to socialize because it seems like there's just negative things to talk about. And so attitude certainly had a lot of room for improvement too. Now, if this was a wheel and we rolled it down the road, it certainly wouldn't roll very smoothly, would it? And so I guess I just want you to take a look and think, where in your life are you out of balance? And where could you use more growth, more abundance, more health, more vitality? They say that, for things to change, maybe you need to make a change too. So that's where we were at when we heard about this technology. Actually, when we were invited to take a very close look at it, this gentleman right here, Ed Weens, is a good friend of ours. We've known for about 25 years. He called me up and he said, "Bart, we need to take a really good, serious look at this company." They offered to have us fly to Salt Lake City. And we met with the founder of the company, this gentleman right here, Bertus Norton, and his son, Tyler Norton, the founders. Chuck Funky's the CEO. And then we also met this gentleman, an atomic medical physicist, Dr. Gary Samuelson. I remember sitting in the boardroom, um, and I'm originally from Salt Lake City, and I hadn't been back to Salt Lake City. I live in Australia now. I hadn't been back for 4 years, so I thought, yeah, I'll take the ticket. I was very curious about the technology, but quite frankly, I just didn't get it. But I remember when I shook Vertus's hand, there's some people that you meet in this lifetime, and you just know that they're good down to the soul. Their humbleness, their gratitude, their graciousness, and their passion for this technology, I just got goosebumps all over. This, quite frankly, was something I had looked for 20 years. I felt like I'd been lost in the desert and I had found my home. So this is when I started my journey with the sea. It was in September 2014. And I really got it. I understand how profound this technology is. In fact, what I discovered was this is one of the most significant health, anti-aging, and sports performance breakthroughs of our lifetime. And it's literally a category creator. No one else has this. It's probably 10 to 15 years ahead of its time. And for 2 decades, science had declared that this was impossible to recreate. So through massive breakthroughs, it also creates massive opportunities. And the other thing it creates is lives changed. That's why this is such a significant breakthrough. Let me also be clear as we kind of get started into this. I want to let you know exactly what ASEA is not. ASEA is not a vitamin. It's not a mineral. It's not some sort of antioxidant or some exotic juice. It's not an essential oil or a CBD oil, and it certainly is not a drug. So you can't really put this in a category of anything. In fact, when they were looking to bring this into, for example, Australia, the TGA didn't even have a category for it. So it really presented some problems because they couldn't really define it. It is a redox signaling supplement. This supplement goes beyond nutrition and it goes beyond ingredients. For example, a blueberry is natural, but the last time you checked, I bet your body didn't grow a blueberry. And if it did, you might want to get it checked or rub some of this product on it. These molecules that we're talking about are not just natural, they're native. They're exactly what your body produces. So ASEA does things that no other product can do, and it's because it contains things that no other product contains. Now, I want to just take a look at the cell. The cells in your body, we're basically made up of 75 trillion cells, okay? And this is what an unhealthy cell looks like here. You can see that it's really unshapely. The cell membrane would be rigid, and what happens is that nutrients can't really effectively get into the cell. Even more importantly, the toxins, the waste products can't get out of the cell. This is what a healthy cell looks like where the nutrients can get in, the waste products can get out. It's nice and round. If you look at live blood cell analysis, you can really see how these cells work and function. And if they're if they're unshapely and they clump together, you basically have a lot of damage in your cells. That's what's pretty cool to even look at live blood cell analysis after using this product before and after. But cells are damaged by antioxidants, toxins, inflammation, viruses, infections, bacteria, free radicals. And so basically, if our cells aren't healthy, then we're not healthy. So our body is a very complex network of communication. In fact, any breakdown in this cellular communication, and you can't live to your full life's potential. So let's just take a look at this. In this example, I want you to imagine that your house is on fire, and as your house is burning up, you grab your cell phone and you're trying to reach the fire department, but they just simply can't get through. And they're saying, "Hey, we can hear that you've got a problem with your home. What's the address?" They can't hear you. They can't get there. Now, we've all been on an important telephone call, for example, and maybe it's one bar, the signal's dropping out, you can't get the communication. Now, I want you to imagine, that you've got a serious problem here. Well, just like your house being on fire, this cell signaling, and of course, pun intended here, ASEA is a cell signaling supplement. ASEA Redox is the only product available today to provide the molecules that are critical for your cell signaling. So just like these waves up here are responsible for the communication, the molecules in this drink is what helps your cells to communicate cell to cell. Now, let's just take a look at this for a second. We are a very complex set of cells, lots of different cells. We've got brain cells, we've got fat cells, heart cells, blood cells, nerve cells. if we look at the pyramid of health, we're basically composed of about 75 trillion cells. Now, every one of those cells create tissues. Those tissues create organs, which create systems, and that ultimately is us. Now, this is kind of the way that we always used to look at it and think of it. However, what's been discovered at the very foundation of this are redox signaling molecules. Now, these molecules are created in the cell. So it's interesting, the mitochondria, so your cell is like a little busy city of all the different things in there. One of the most important things in the cell is the mitochondria. Now, if you're not familiar with the term mitochondria, think of it as the nuclear power plant of the cell. It creates energy, ATP, adenosine triphosphate. So every time that you think a thought, every time that you blink your eyes, every time that you do anything, that's energy that's coming from the cell, created in this little thing called the mitochondria. Now, every cell of your body has anywhere from 10 to as many as 7,000 mitochondria. Now, in fact, interesting, half of your body's dry weight, if you were dehydrated, let's say, would be from mitochondria. So it's a pretty important part of our system, of our body. Now, here's the interesting thing. As the mitochondria creates energy, this ATP, it kicks off these little molecules called redox signaling molecules. They're reductant and oxidant molecules, hence the word redox. And these molecules are native to your body. They're the molecules that are created in your cell. And this is literally the foundation of your cellular health. So if your body was to stop producing these molecules, you would be dead within seconds, and perhaps even less than a second. Those molecules are responsible for detecting, protecting, repairing, and replacing damaged cells. Now, they discovered these molecules. It's kind of interesting. Let me even go back to the cell here for a second, or this slide for a second. I want you to just think for a second. You've got 75 trillion cells. Now, to look inside one of those cells, and then to look inside the mitochondria, and to actually discover these molecules is a pretty amazing thing, because we're getting so absolutely tiny. These molecules are just, really just a couple of atoms. They're fleeting. They last about a millionth of a second. Now, in that millionth of a second, they have to do their job of detecting, protecting, repairing, and replacing damaged cells, or they turn back into the substance that they were created in, which is this little bag of salt water. So here's the interesting thing. These three gentlemen actually won a Nobel Prize in medicine in 1998, because what they discovered is exactly what I just mentioned, that these molecules are responsible for detecting healthy cells, or protecting healthy cells, detecting, repairing, and replacing damaged cells. So pretty cool. Before that, they thought these molecules were nothing more than a waste product of the cell creating energy, similar to exhaust fumes coming out of your car. So now here's the challenge. With diet, age, stress, and environmental toxins, we diminish our body's ability to utilize and create these molecules. So it's pretty important. What if we could actually top up or replenish these molecules and boost your body's signal? Similar to that cell phone, instead of having 1 bar Wi-Fi, what if we could have it like it's 4G and just full 5 bars, and it's absolutely just cranking, and it's getting the cells communicating properly. So to be able to replenish your cells with more redox signaling molecules would be absolutely groundbreaking. And due to the highly reactive and fleeting nature of these molecules, science had declared that it was impossible to stabilize these molecules outside of the body. That's why I mentioned in the beginning that this was, for 2 decades, science declared that it was impossible. So to stabilize these little molecules that last literally a fraction of a second is pretty impressive. So introducing the world's first and only redox signaling supplement. That's exactly what ASEA has created. So here is actually how they do it. Mentioned before that our bodies are made up mostly of water. It's in fact mostly salt water. So ASEA uses exactly the same ingredients that our body uses to create these molecules, which is pristine salt water, same as what's found in our cells. And they also add, so it's pure water and salt. Now, that salt water is broken down into free-floating atoms of nitrogen, of sodium chloride, hydrogen, and oxygen, excuse me. And then it goes through, it's part of this 3-day process is the atoms are restructured into stabilized redox signaling molecules. So it's a 3-day electrochemical patented process. And at the end of that, we end up with a bottle of ASEA. Actually a big vat of ASEA, which is later put into bottles. So virtually just even one serving has trillions and trillions of these molecules. Now, next thing is our skin is the largest organ of the body. People were taking the drink and they were putting it in spray bottles, spraying it in their eyes, putting it on their skin. They were seeing incredible benefits from that. In fact, if you get a cut or burned, or you can put your, even let's say a tooth pulled and you hold to see it in your mouth, or you put your burnt finger in it, the pain goes away very, very quickly. The healing process is quite miraculous. So they knew they had an application for a gel. ASEA spent 5 years figuring out how to put this technology into a gel for the skin. And we'll show you some results before and afters of using this gel product here in just a second. So what we're talking about specifically is cellular health from the inside out with the ASEA, and then also cellular health from the outside in with the gel. Now, this is highly patented. There are literally dozens of patents on this technology. And you might have the question, like I did, well, how do I know that it's not just expensive salt water? It's made from salt and water, but what is it actually? Well, it's certainly not salt water anymore after it's gone through this process. Kind of like taking all the ingredients to bake a cake. You bake the cake and no longer do you have milk and eggs and butter and flour and so forth. You've got something entirely different, and that's exactly what's gone on here. Now, this laboratory, Bioagiletics, they actually certify, this is a laboratory that works with 21 of the top 25 pharmaceutical companies globally. 50% of their staff are PhDs, highly reputable laboratory. They certify, they verify, they validate that every batch of ASEA is in fact redox certified. Now, ASEA has funded millions of dollars of research. In fact, we've already mentioned Bioagiletics, of course. Stevens and Associate and Dermatest have done some studies on the skin results. We'll show you those results in just a moment. But one thing, also the North Carolina Research Campus has done incredible results with athletic testing. And Tour Laboratories is one that I'd like to talk about here in a second. So I want you to know that this is one of the fastest growing of areas of science globally. There's 160,000 studies that have been published in peer-reviewed articles, medical journals, and so forth. There's over 1,200 books on the subject. In fact, this book here, I'm assuming my camera's working here, I'm not 100% sure, but Redox Life was written by this gentleman on the back. I don't know if you can see that, but Dr. Nareen Naidu, he was actually nominated for a Nobel Prize for some things that he's done. I know Dr. Naidu, and Bart is the founder of the company. Had actually asked Dr. Naidu to write a brochure that explained redox, and this was his brochure. It's about 5 pounds and it's pretty intense book. So lots of books have been published on this, and lots of studies that have been done. Now, I mentioned Tour Laboratories. Now, this is very interesting thing. Tour Laboratories, they do gene studies, and they did an 8-week study using ASEA redox, and it was shown to have to activate the genes, the genetic expression in 5 important pathways up to 31%. And those 5 pathways are immune system, inflammatory response, cardiovascular health, digestive health, and hormone modulation. Now you start digging into these different areas, and I think that's going to address probably about 98% of the health challenges that are out there. I actually didn't realize, but genes are actually subject to being turned on and turned off. And as we age, our genetic expression turns off. So if you could even turn on your genetic expression, even a couple percent, I think it'd be a pretty big deal. But up to 31% in these 5 areas is pretty major. Now let's break this down. For example, the EGR1 gene is what it's called, actually branches off into 15 other genetic pathways. And so as we take a look at this, for example, one is circadian serotonin receptor. The other one is circadian rhythm. So these are all going to help affect our sleep. Another one is your thyroid, thyroid stimulating hormone. So anyone that's dealing with thyroid, hyperthyroid issues and so forth, insulin signaling, know anyone that's dealing with blood sugar challenges, also just helping with the brain and the growth of brain cells. The next one I'm going to show you is this NRF2 pathway. And also I just want to point out ovarian infertility genes. We've got lots of little ASEA babies out there. And, you know, so it's, and it wasn't from just drinking the ASEA, of course, but this really helps to turn on the genes. Everything is cellular, and certainly having kids is. Now I want to just talk about the EGR1 gene that branches off to this NFR2. Kind of funny names for these, but that's what they're called. We've all heard about how important antioxidants are. Antioxidants are basically worthless without redox signaling. Redox signaling is what turns on and that activates these antioxidants. So this is critical for the production of our body's supermaster antioxidants like glutathione and superoxide dismutase. And this can literally increase these super antioxidants by up to 800%. So it's massive. Depending on what your body needs, these molecules are actually going to help to stimulate antioxidant production. So what are the experts saying? Anne Louise Gittleman is they call her the first lady of nutrition. She's written over 30 books. She said, ASEA, in my humble estimation, is the greatest advance in lifestyle medicine, which harnesses the power of your own body to keep you well. And she actually calls ASEA the DNA whisperer. Very credible. In fact, she's updating all of her books to include ASEA. She said in her 30 years of being in nutrition science, she's had never even heard of it. So if you go, for example, and talk to your doctor, if they've been in medicine for a while, they probably wouldn't even have a clue, because this is such a new area of science. It would be something they hadn't even learned about in medical school. Also, this technology, Dr. Gary Samuelson. Now, this guy is one of my heroes. Dr. Samuelson is the atomic medical physicist. He's the one who is responsible for doing what science declared was impossible. He's the one that figured out how to stabilize these molecules so that it has a significant shelf life. He said this technology has the potential to spearhead the greatest advances in health that we have ever seen. Recently, I heard a conversation. I was actually doing an interview with the founder's son, John Norton, and he said when they were looking at the possibility of what to do with this, Dr. Samuelson told Vertus Norton, he said, Vertus, I could live 100 lifetimes and I would never come across anything this significant. He said, this is absolutely meant for humanity. I'll share more of that story here in a moment. But I mentioned in the beginning, athletic advantage. We are seeing remarkable results. In fact, one of the things that they did at the beginning, there's these mice. You almost picture them, these little mice that run to exhaustion that they use in laboratories to test. And you kind of picturing a little jogging suit and little sneakers running along there. But in this study, it's a 7-day study, mice drinking ASEA Redox ran, get this, 29% further to exhaustion. So they were using, and the reason is because they're utilizing more fat as fuel. So instead of burning your sugars and so forth, you're actually burning fat. So any athlete that would prefer to burn fat, in fact, if you've got a few extra pounds to lose and you want to exercise, this is a great way of burning fat instead of and losing some weight. We've got some fantastic examples of that. Now, here are just a very small sample of our ASEA athletes. The stories that athletes have are quite remarkable. Bria Larson, she's back in high school, she was one of the first athletes to use this. She went on and won a gold medal in the Olympics, and she'll be in the next Olympics. I know she was doing tryouts here recently. Cody Miller, he won 2 medals in the last Olympics in Brazil, a gold medal and a bronze medal. And when you hear their stories of the challenges that they've overcome, whether it be health challenges and injuries, and these products help them to get through that, it was really remarkable. So what we're talking about is endurance and strength, recovery, mental stamina. The product's going to help with all of those things. Now, I want to just share a brief story of of a friend of mine that I was introduced. And before I do that, I just want to tell you that ASEA's products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or medical condition. What the technology does is it actually helps the body to do what it's meant to do best, which is to help heal itself. God gave us this amazing body which is designed to help heal itself. And so this technology, again, is native, utilizing what our body would naturally create, but we're topping up those same molecules. So when I flew to Salt Lake City, in the picture that I mentioned before, and it says Dan Doyle's post because I actually pulled this off. He recently just put this on Facebook, and he says, "So thankful and grateful this breakthrough technology returned my health and has given us the ability to help so many others." I got to tell you, I feel incredibly blessed and grateful to have shared this with Dan. And let me just briefly share his story. Dan, at age 24, he owned a gym. Obviously, he takes took his gym seriously because this is a medal that he won in a bodybuilding competition. Danny's quite entrepreneurial. He built and sold 20 different businesses in 20 years, but at age 44, he discovered that he had a pretty serious health challenge. That would be in 2013. This picture was taken. And because of the treatments that he was undergoing, he said he didn't have a hair on his body. He said it was treatments that he wouldn't wish on his worst enemy, virtually hell. Now the challenge was after doing 2.5 years of this horrendous treatments, the doctors told him to go home and get his affairs in order. They said there's nothing more that we could do. They couldn't continue the treatments they were doing. Danny's a fighter. He got on virtually every supplement, the best supplements and nutrition that he could think of. Quite frankly, a lot of more network marketing companies, Protandim and Isogenics, and a whole list of different things. Regardless, those products probably helped to keep him alive. But in October of 2014, I called Danny up, and this is what he looked like. He actually flew to Salt Lake City. I called Danny. I said, "Danny, I've come across something I think that can help you." And I said, "I want you to meet the people who are behind this. I want you to fly to Salt Lake City and meet Bertus Norton, meet Dr. Samuelson." And he did. I remember we were sitting around the boardroom. They had, bottles of ASEA there. I kept pouring him extra shots and made sure that his body was topped up well with ASEA. And that night, his body just broke out with all of these pimples in his back and his chest. Now remember, he had been on a very clean diet, a pescatarian diet. And so he's thinking, what's going on? Am I allergic to something? Was it some kind of reaction from the plane? Well, what was happening was his body was pouring out toxins that were still left in his system. He said he went on a little bit of an emotional roller coaster up and down because of just his body going through some changes. And then we were in a parking lot about 2 days later, and he said, "I feel like Superman." He says, I feel amazing. He got out of the car and he goes sprinting across the car park, and he probably ran 100 meters. He came back and he wasn't really even breathing hard. He had this huge grin on his face, and he said, if I would have tried to do that 2 days ago, I would have been on my hands and knees gasping for air because of the damage that had been done to his lungs. So he knew that something was working with these products. Needless to say, the next picture is 1 year later. This is after he had just gotten the free and clear from his doctor that those horrible cells in his body weren't detected at the time, and he still remains fantastically healthy today. So feel very blessed to be able to share that story, and Danny's certainly helped a lot of people by sharing this as well. Look, I just want to share a couple other results. So I go through this. This is where they've used the gel on a sunburn. Instead of peeling, it actually went more to a tan. This gentleman underneath his neck, these pictures are in 28 days or less, guys. This is amazing stuff. This lady, the aging effect on her arm, look at how that's tightened the skin, the elasticity of the skin in 28 days. This lady's looking like she's definitely getting a little bit aged, and here she looks kind of like a supermodel for a senior supermodel. What a huge difference in her age and her radiance of her skin. Obviously, this gentleman's got a pretty serious problem with his hand that he's gotten some benefit from. So at the end of the day, seeing is believing. And you can see all the different effects from the scarring here, the difference of the scarring, the difference in the texture of the skin, Now the wrinkles in the forehead. This lady didn't look like it made her a lot happier, but but it definitely helped with her the horrible challenge that she's got with her skin. I know people that have had that challenge, and it's pretty tough. So the wrinkles here, the crow's feet, it's like I said, seeing truly is believing. So as we're looking at some of these results, I want to give you some of the scientific validation behind this. So Stevens and Dermatest did a study that they discovered that this technology, these molecules in the gel, literally improved the cellular regeneration by 16% faster. Also, they found that the wrinkles depth, remember I said 23%, look 23% younger in 28 days. Well, literally in 28 days, the wrinkle depth, and this is all with some very scientific laser equipment, was improved by 23%. Skin elasticity was 20%, smoothness of the skin 23%. So we actually age slower. Skin challenges, these challenges that she had with her skin, literally went away in just 28 days. Now, why would that be? Well, these are skin cells that are quite damaged, and when your skin is actually healing properly, it creates, bad cells go into apoptosis, which is cell suicide. They're replaced by healthy cells. It wasn't happening. This is something she'd had for decades, and that's healed up. Also, the redness, the irritation that you can see, that so many people, particularly teenagers, are dealing with. We've got something that's a godsend, not only for the redness and the irritation, but also for the scarring. Really helps that. So many experiences with first aid. Well, you get hurt or injured. Some of the before and after photos I've seen from burns and different things, just amazing the results that happen with that. And then something that's pretty cool, we've got what we call 3 and 5. It's literally just taking this gel and applying it 3 times in 5 minutes on any area that hurts. And if you actually measure where that area of discomfort is, let's say it might be your shoulder, and on a scale of 0 to 10, it's, maybe it's pretty bad. It's maybe an 8. If you apply that 3 times over, apply it, give it a couple minutes, apply it again, apply it a 3rd time, and you actually measure that, what we'll find in a group of, if we had 100 people here, 95% of the people would have a very significant reduction, or even have the discomfort just go away totally. So pretty cool what we're seeing. And general health as well. This gentleman actually started with the Renew 28. He had some very serious challenges with his skin, but he actually had some very serious challenges with his health overall. He's a pretty sad fellow, unable to work. In day 6, he's starting to look and feel a whole lot better. He started to get stuck into the drink as well, the ASEA. And on day 22, look at the difference. He's got life in his eyes. He's been able to go back to work again, and he actually has his financial dignity back as well. I love this story. This is Rosie. Rosie's at 84 years old. Her son is a chiropractor, put her on these products. And it's kind of a funny story, because 7 weeks later, where this picture is taken, she had come into his office, and she had decided that she wanted to cancel her orders and get off the product. And he said, well, why is that, Mom? She said, well, it isn't doing anything for me. And so he said, well, Mom, we did take a before photo. Let's take an after photo. And you got to tell me, this is major. Look at the difference around her neck, around her eyes. She looks like she's 15, 20 years younger. And so needless to say, Rosie stayed on the product, and this is her at 86 and 87. And I would say that, which one looks younger, the 84 or the 87-year-old? Certainly a big difference. The 87-year-old looks much more vibrant and healthy. So this has actually been put into a full skincare line. It's called Renew Advanced. There's a serum, which is a high concentrated form of these molecules. There's also a cleanser and a moisturizer. Cleanser, guys, works as fantastic as a shaving foam as well. And the moisturizer is wonderful. It's totally unisex. I absolutely love it. My wife loves it. And it's completely 100% safe. No toxins in it, which is why ASEA has given all these products the 5-star seal of approval. Now, I want to just mention also that ASEA has a nutrition line. Remember in the beginning I said that ASEA is not a vitamin, it's not a juice or anything like that. We still need to have nutrition because ASEA is the cell signaling. So as we're looking at this, I'm not going to go into depth on these particular products, but I can tell you that when ASEA does anything, they do it absolutely first class. They do it right. So if you're taking vitamins, or even if you're not taking vitamins, you need to get on these and you need to use ASEA's nutrition products because they've spared no expense in coming up with the very best supplement combinations. Life Source Biome, this is for the gut. This is whole food nutrition. Life Max is for anti-aging and vitality formula. Unbelievable stuff that it does for your brain health and for your hormone and so forth. And then your Omega, this is heart health. Doctors could prescribe this. It does amazing things for your heart and also your brain health. So we've all heard about the Omega, the fish oils and so forth. That's one that doesn't have any effects or any of the fishy burps or whatever that a lot of products will give you. Now, let's just take a look at this. The complete cellular health. We live and die at the cellular level. And so what I want you to think of, if you were going to build a home and all of a sudden the lumber yard brings over all the building supplies. You've got your timber and you've got your roofing supplies and you've got everything, your bricks and mortar and so forth, and it's sitting there. You actually need to have, and that's what the source is. That's what these vitamin supplements are all of the building blocks. Now, the thing that you need, though, is you have to have the labor. If no one's there to put it in place, it's not going to do a whole lot of good. So ASEA Redox, that's the labor that actually puts this to work. So ASEA is the only company in the world to offer your cells the material and the labor to get the work done. We are a 100% total cellular health company, and these technologies marry very well together. And ultimately, just like the stories that I've already shared with you, this means lives changed big time. And it also means a breakthrough and opportunity. It's a high impact technology that absolutely gets results. No other company in the world has this. Think about that. No other company in the world has this, and they're calling it the most significant health breakthrough of our lifetime. Do you think there's a market for that? My goodness, absolutely. There's a massive market. The validation, there's plenty of validation by third party independent science. Everybody needs to know this. When I went to Salt Lake City, and I remember sitting in that boardroom and hearing these gentlemen talk about the technology, I thought, my goodness, everybody I know, everybody that I care about, everybody I love needs to know about this technology. They need to be on this. Everybody needs this. Virtually no one knows about this. It's we need to get the word out. This needs to not be kept as a secret. Everybody needs to know about this technology. And speaking of getting the word out, I just want to briefly share with you what we call the genesis of ASEA. There's a video called The Genesis of ASEA, and I'm just going to give you a very brief synopsis of it. These two gentlemen, who I am absolutely I consider them not only friends but partners, and two people that I have unbelievable admiration and respect for. Bart Norton was the vice president of strategy for Kraft Food. He ran a $37 billion a year operation before he retired and got involved. Tyler Norton was a Fortune 50 executive in the financial industry. What actually happened was there was a company, a biotech company out of a little town called Logan, Utah, believe it or not, where I grew up, as coincidence would have it, that had a technology that they had spent about 15 years and $16 million putting together, developing this technology, and they hadn't earned any money yet because they were all in the research area of it. They were in a financial challenging position, and they asked Tyler if they could help do some business strategy. He said, I'm too busy right now, but my dad, the Yoda, the master, they said, maybe he's just retired, maybe he'd have some time, and they asked him to come down for a day. Well, what actually happened is that this company, the way they had structured it, they couldn't really get themselves out of this box. They had gone after a drug application. They couldn't get a drug application because of the way that they had, well, quite frankly, you can't get a drug application unless you can prove something called LD50, meaning that LD stands for lethal dose. 50 is 50% of the laboratory animals will die at some particular dose, meaning you can't get a drug application unless your product is toxic enough that it can kill you. at some level. I know that sounds very strange, but that's the way that our pharmaceutical companies are set up. And they offered Vertus the company. They said, would you like to buy the company and we'll invest in you? And he said, well, I don't think so. But he got talking with a friend of his, and they were playing golf, and he said, I've been thinking about this. I think I might want to make a run at this and put together a group. His friend actually pulled over the golf cart, pulled a check out of his wallet and wrote a big check to Vertus, and he said, let's do it. Vertus says, he says, you don't even know what the technology is. He says, it doesn't matter, Vertus. I've always wanted to be in business with you. They made a run at this technology, and what they actually did, this is interesting, is after perfecting, developing the technology, they actually took a test pilot group of people. You see, just to be clear, you don't pour yourself a glass of ASEA or a cup of ASEA because you want to have a tasty beverage. It doesn't exactly taste good. It doesn't taste bad. It just tastes, it just doesn't taste good. It's made from salt and water. It tastes like pool water. But they thought, will people actually use this? Will they drink it if there's a perceived benefit? So they took a test group, initially started with 40 people, 6 of whom were in a very serious state of health. Quite frankly, they were terminal. And they said, you can have free access to the product, just use it, and you can share it and see what happens. Well, they came back to do an inventory 2 months later. They discovered that this group of 40 people had turned into 135 people in 20 different countries. And most importantly, what was going on is these people, and I want you to imagine, these are friends, these are family, these are people that Tyler and Vertus knew personally. Some of these people that were dealing with told to get their affairs in order were people who had families with small children in a pretty serious situation. Well, these people were having incredible benefits from the product. Now, what happened next is that initially this was just going to be a business play. They were going to develop the product and they would turn around and see if they could market it in a different way. They had several different pharmaceutical companies that were interested in it. One in particular flew to Salt Lake City with their executives and scientists, and they looked at the 9 pallets of research. They looked at the science. They sent their scientists away to go to the laboratory and do their work. They came back and told the executives with a nod that they've got it. These stabilized molecules that we're talking about. They said, we're going to make you an offer. We're going to write you a check so big that you won't want to go anywhere else. They were looking to avoid a bidding war. And they said, but there's one challenge, there's one condition. And Vertus says, well, what's that? And they said, you've got 135 people on this product. You're going to have to take them all off the product. We'll take all the equipment and all the research and basically walk away. And Vertus says, well, we've got people that are dependent on this product. And they said, basically let them die. There's people deal with their problems all sorts of ways. And because of this man's integrity, both of these men, they knew that that was something they couldn't do. So they actually turned down a massive offer from the pharmaceutical company, and actually multiple offers, because they really decided that this needed to get out to humanity. There was a very real threat that this was going to be shelved, that it wouldn't see the light of day, or if it did, it would be at a very limited application and would certainly not be affordable to the general public. So instead of going for a short-term economic gain, they put people first, people, principles, and purpose first. And that's the only reason why we have the opportunity for me to share this with you today. So the challenge was, how are we going to get this out to the world? How are they going to tell people about this? If you saw a bottle like this on the shelf and you read the ingredients that it's made from salt and water, you would think that someone lost their mind. What is it? Redox signaling is something that really needs to be explained. And of course, if you ask anybody that's been in business, what's the very best form of marketing? Everybody will tell you without hesitation that it's word of mouth. So they talked with some people in the direct sales, the network marketing industry, and they said, look, this is an absolutely perfect product as a network distribution product. So that was, after talk with a number of experts, that's how they chose to market this technology. Now, this business model is quite amazing, because just like I picked up the phone and called my friend Dan, he knew people and I knew other people. And in fact, everybody I cared about, everybody I knew needed to know about this technology. So what actually happens is you create distribution channels. And ASEA manufactures the product, and they pay us for the advertising, for the networking to build that. And basically through that network of people talking to people who are talking to people, you're creating a massive network, or can create a massive network all around the globe in literally 35 different countries right now. This is the world headquarters that was just a recent building was built just south of Salt Lake City. And if we look at the success story, they actually own their own manufacturing facility as well. They've been in debt-free since their first year. They've got 29 legal entities for global business. They are absolutely positioned for massive global growth and expansion. In fact, it's very exciting to see what's happened in the Asian markets. ASEA has opened up in Hong Kong, Philippines, Thailand, Taiwan, Singapore, and just recently opened up Malaysia. All those countries are on fire right now as we're seeing the growth of this technology expanding. It's important to me that I wanted to know that this company was solid, that it was stable, that it was going to be here for the long term. And so all those things were quite important to look at how solid this company actually is. So the next thing is, where do you see yourself? I mean, absolutely, at the very least, you should see yourself as a customer to get on this product. If you understand and know what this product is doing, you'll never get off of it. Certainly my wife and I never will. This will be an absolute priority for the rest of our life because we absolutely understand and know what it does. So you might see yourself as a customer. Maybe you see yourself as building a small business where you can generate an extra $500,000 a month. Studies have been done where the number one cause of divorce and argument, for example, is finances. And to keep someone out of bankruptcy, for example, most people only need an extra $500 a month, and it would make all the difference in the world. 500 to 1,000 could bring a spouse home, or maybe you could quit a second job that you have. Or perhaps if you've ever wanted to be, and I apologize if this sounds a little cliche, but being at the right place at the right time, I don't think we will ever see an opportunity this significant again. So for people who are entrepreneurially inclined, who want to help a lot of people instead of a few people, this is a chance to build literally a lifestyle income. We've got people earning $10,000 a month and $10,000 a week and more and beyond. So how much would it take? Let me just give you an example. This is an income disclosure statement. And actually, these figures actually happen to be in US dollars. So you could actually add another 40% to these for if you're in Australia, for example. So just even on a part-time basis, people can, just on these lower levels, can earn an extra $500 to $1,000 a month. And as you move up the ranks, what is the amount that you need? What would make a difference for you? Is it $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, $20,000 a month or more? This absolutely is a great chance to create that kind of income. The best part about this income is it's a residual income as you're building this, because people continue to order every single month over and over. So people say, can I do this? If you haven't had any experience with this type of marketing, it's very simple. We've got the tools, we've got the training, we've got webinars just like the one that we're doing here, meetings and so forth. The support system is phenomenal. It's very easy to do this on a part-time business. You are literally you're in business for yourself, but you're not in business by yourself. You don't have a boss telling you what to do, where to go. This is something that you can very easily do on a part-time basis. And I just want to point out, they say in real estate that it's all about location, location, location. In business, it really is about timing. We are right now hitting an incredible growth phase. For the first 10 years of this company, they did the research, they built the foundation, they set up the support and the manufacturing facilities. Right now, all of that is absolutely in place, and we're positioned for kind of like this hockey stick curve type of growth right now. Company has laid out some pretty auspicious goals, and I think that they will hit them and beyond. So in terms of timing, it could not be a better time to get involved with ASEA. Share this with people, and it's just simply word of mouth marketing. So it's a product that is high impact, it gets results. No one else has it. Everybody needs it, and almost no one has heard about it. So there are massive industries. In fact, actually, I'm just going to go back. These are three massive industries. We're talking about the wellness industry is $1 trillion industry. The sports industry is $1 trillion industry, and the skincare industry is also huge. So we are participating in 3 massive marketplaces. To get started is so simple. In fact, it's so simple that many people quite often take it for granted. $60 and you have your own account. You can order the products wholesale and you can take advantage. There's also enrollment packs to get started with. Obviously, just like most things, if you come in with a little bit more product, you're going to get a better deal. There's an incredible loyalty reward program. So if you come in with what they'd call a business pack or an entrepreneur pack, just a little bit more product, which really isn't a lot of product either, by the way, you start off with some significant loyalty rewards where every month after that, when you order, you get some significant rewards as well as your initial discounts, better prices. So just a couple last slides to wrap this up. I showed this diagram at the beginning of kind of what life looked like for me when I first got started. And I got to tell you, I was pretty unhappy with where I was at in terms of career. I am ecstatic, 10 out of 10. Couldn't be happier with where we're going and the difference that we're making in the lives of other people. But financially, I'm in a place where I've never been. This is such a great opportunity to really, it's great when, like a friend of mine, a mentor years ago, he says, there's more important things to think about than lousy bills. And it seems like life before was always just worrying and stressing about bills. It seemed like there was more month than there was money. It's so cool to be in a place where that's really not a problem. Be able to go in and just know that you can afford something. You can take trips, the travel and so forth. It's been amazing. Personal growth, that's really what we're about, is helping not only ourselves grow, but building a team of people that want more out of life. And that includes personal growth. Our health is fantastic. Always definitely some room for improvement. I need to just get out and exercise and work a little bit more in that area, but feeling pretty good. Family's great. Relationships fantastic. Social life, we're involved with the most amazing people, and this is an attitude is pretty good. So this wheel looks a whole lot different than the first wheel, and I tell you what, this wheel might have a couple little bumpy edges, but for the most part, it's looking a whole lot better. Life has truly changed. I'm so grateful and blessed to be involved with, be able to work with my wife. We work from home. We work with who we want. When we want, where we want, and it's just a joy, an absolute joy. So grateful to this man here, Vertus Norton. And in fact, Vertus said at a recent convention, he said, kind of really as his retirement speech, he said, we're at the start of something big with great purpose, and right now is the moment that we begin influencing the future. It's kind of like he was passing this baton to us to take this to the world. And they say that there's nothing like making a living while you're making a difference. And for us, we feel very grateful to be able to be making a living while we're making a difference, changing lives. The stories, the stories that are really quite miraculous, we hear every day, and we just feel so much gratitude to be able to be associated and involved with such an amazing company. So what I'd like to do is just tell you, invite you to get back with the person who invited you to listen and or to get started. They can answer all your questions. And I'd like to, once again, thank you for taking your time to hear about ASEA. Thanks again. With that, we'll go ahead and stop the recording.